Welcome back to the Ones Ready podcast, folks. Aaron and I here just talking about what we're going to talk about. And today it's a message for the seniors, not the senior citizens, although I would love to give you all advice, I guess. Greatest generation, folks. If you ever need advice, come to the Ones Ready podcast.
Big demographic, 65 and older. Big
huge
demographic.
podcast.
Listen, there's untapped potential in a specific market, and it's the geriatric market. Yes, you're too old for Aspect War. You're still going to ask that question, but we got lots of other advice, senior citizens. So come holler at us, Shady Pines retirement community.
I got to admit, when Jared threw the idea out there, he's like, we should talk to seniors. That's where my brain went, not seniors in high school, because that's how smart I am. Right. But if you are a senior in high school right now, big life decisions coming your way, which is definitely what I was thinking when I was a senior in high school. I was thinking about the future. You know, I was making plans. I was investing my money wisely.
Oh my God.
Thinking about what I was going to do with my life. What about you, Aaron?
I thought of none of that. I'm glad that you had it locked down. This is going to come as a surprise to nobody, but I had no clue what I was going to do. No kidding, was just bebopping. I said to myself, okay, well, you're supposed to go to college. I had some good test scores, but they weren't great. I wasn't a great student. I figured out that I could really just coast by on like a 3.2 grade point average by not doing anything. Like I never took any advanced math. I literally sandbagged in high school because I figured out that I could just coast and not apply myself. So that's, failure number one of me. But, I had no idea, had no clue what it is that I wanted to do. And I had no inclination of what it is that I was even supposed to do. I just, okay, yep, you apply to colleges. I applied to Ohio State and got in. I wish, Trent, that there was somebody that could open my eyes to the possibility that maybe you should do some planning. What are some options that are out there, big guy? Like, hey, seniors in high school, you can do this.
Well, I think we could talk about that. I was going to talk about like some of the stuff that we got right post high school, some of the things we got wrong, and then talk about like the possibilities,
Gotcha.
And because I know I'm just going to sound like Mike Rowe as soon as we start talking about possibilities. And, everybody knows what that sounds like.
Sure.
So, and like if I was going to go back and give myself some advice, like one of the few things I did okay after high school was maintain a little bit of physicality. But that's mostly just because my friends played soccer, so I played soccer, and so we all just did what we did. Some of the things I didn't do great was everything else. I did not have a plan.
I like 2 buckets here. All right, what did I do good? I was in pretty good shape. All right, what did you do bad? Literally everything else. If it didn't involve me going to the gym or going on a run, I screwed it up.
Yeah, there was a community college and then a university that got a fair bit of my money just so I could go to the parties. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was the most expensive parties I've ever been to, and I've been to Vegas.
Yeah. Shout out Vegas. Let me tell you about my time at Ohio State. A whole lot of similarities there. I did not. I was on a water polo team. It was a club water polo team. Like there was no varsity team there, so it was collegiate club level. So it was essentially intramurals for dorks that try hard, essentially. So like there were practices and we went on tournaments and stuff like that. And I just happened into it. I was working a side gig at the pool, right? Like I was a swimmer in high school, but I wasn't good. Like I could have gone to a Division II school, maybe like Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. Aaron Love could have swam for Slippery Rock.
What does that even mean? Now you're just making stuff up.
No, it's not. That's an actual school. And I actually got a recruiting letter from Slippery Rock College in Pennsylvania. They had to just mass mail them out, right?
Yeah, sorry.
I got off the side of the road. Anyway, I was like, oh, they're marketing directly to me. No, you just picked up trash, you idiot. Anyway, so I was just working a side gig and these guys had practice and, you had to have a lifeguard, which was the dumbest thing. Like I worked really early in the morning and I was lifeguard for the swim team and the synchronized swim team. Like that was literally my job. So I was, as an 18-year-old kid, just staring at people that were in no danger of drowning for hours on end. But that was my side job. Anyway, I started playing water polo, and really it was a drinking team with a water polo problem because it was a collegiate club. We didn't you weren't on scholarship, you couldn't get in trouble, so we would just party. Not that I would ever drink underage. Never done anything illegal, but it's for legal purposes. Yeah.
Isn't that weird though? If you get into college and you're drinking underage, it's like acceptable. But if
totally
you're
acceptable.
just working and you're 20 years old and you're drinking underage, you're seen as a terrible human being in our society.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny.
You are not in college discovering yourself, and in college you're supposed to have all these new experiences and get drunk and make poor decisions. It's like, what are you doing? You're like, I work at Home Depot. They're like, ooh, you're just a bad person.
I work 80 hours a week, and I like to
Yeah.
have a couple beers to unwind at night in the apartment that I can barely afford because taxes are killing me. Like, yeah, you should be able to have a beer, my guy. Who
Yeah.
cares?
No,
Yeah,
you're
but
going to jail. Yeah.
so I didn't do that right. The other thing I didn't do right, and this should be a cautionary tale: seniors, learn about credit, learn how credit works, look at credit cards, learn how learn how taxes work, learn how interest rates work. I know this is like a course you should be being taught. It should be for seniors. It should be, I don't know if we call it civics or basic human 101. I guess go look at that podcast. I think we even talked about this a little bit, but understand what that stuff is, because I really screwed myself like 18 to 21. It took me like 10 years to fix, just from having a credit card that I just completely blew off. Was like, I'll pay him back whenever. And
That's not real.
That's not, yeah, it's not real money. Oh, what's the interest rate on this? Oh, 64%. That's tight. Anyway.
Yeah.
Idiot.
I remember being on my first deployment and having to get on the internet and pay off like the last of my stupid debt. Like just the little things that like I totally forgot about, because you weren't, 18. I was not old enough to make real decisions, life decisions.
Sure.
that
Right.
jacked me up.
Yeah.
It was a big day, because like that was when I finally paid off the last of that stuff and got everything going. And was like, oh, like I'm a real person now. I'm 24 years old, and I finally figured out how to like manage a little bit of money and do something with my life.
I just look back on it, and at this point, it's regret of time wasted, right? It's what could be now, and not necessarily like what I did back then that was so bad. It's just where could I be now if I really focused it. Kudos to a young lady in my life, a little 18-year-old person, but she started an investment account pretty much right away, and it's $100. Every 2 weeks when she gets paid, she puts $100 away, $200 a month. Is that a ton? No. Is that going to be a ton as she increases from the time that she's 18 to the time that she's 25 to 35 to 45? Yeah. As long as she makes smart investments with a medium yield, she's going to be 40 and have $1 million. It's going to be
Assuming
great.
the global economy doesn't collapse.
Listen, there's a whole lot of stuff in here. Don't even get me going on the Fed and how I'm mad about taxation. It's not the point, Trenton. What I'm getting at here.
Giving advice.
What I'm getting at here is learn that stuff early. If you really take those things to heart, you can set yourself up for success way earlier in life. You take a lot of stress, and honestly, you barely even notice it. $100 out of a paycheck here and there. Get smart on investments. Get smart on credit. That's what I would do too as a senior.
Yeah. I think one of the other things that I got right on accident is I ended up doing a few difficult things. I had a few reach back moments before I joined the military.
Nice.
And to put in perspective, for me to join join as an enlisted person in the Air Force was like my father's worst nightmare. Like all I heard growing up was like, don't join the military, and especially don't be enlisted. And so for him to recommend that at that point in my life, that gives you an idea of how many bridges and dumpsters were behind me on fire. But I had done some more difficult things and had some reach back moments to be able to tell myself, if I can do this, I can do that. So that was about the only highlights pre-military that I had in my life that set me up for success. And reading, I read a lot.
Nice. What were the reach back moments?
So we were on a hike. So my church had like a young men's group, and we went on a hike in southern Utah, and one of the old Vietnam vet dudes broke his leg. And so we'd hiked the Narrows, Zion National Park, the day before. And we did it was like 18 miles or something. I don't know. It was, pretty rough, but it was all downhill in the water. The next day we're hiking down into the subway, which you can't hike to anymore. But like the first 5 miles are over like the Slick Rock, and it's in July. So it's hot. And you drop down to this canyon. Anyway, this dude decides to jump off a rock because he's an old Vietnam vet, infantry bro, super awesome dude.
Right. But bad decision making, at least in this instance.
Right. On one side, there's a log that you can crawl down. And so us young people are like, I'm going to crawl off this log because I don't really know what's down there. It's sand, but I'm just going to, climb down instead of jump off. Him being the dude he is, he jumps off. And we all, like when you hear like a large twig snap, it was like, that's all we heard. Snap.
There are a couple noises that live in your head. Like you can just hear them, and you know it when you hear it. And it's just the most like sickening feeling. Somebody hits their head on pavement, like you hear that hollow, like melon, that sort of noise, and you're like, oh no. Somebody breaks a bone, same thing. You hear that snap, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
He snapped his tib fib, and he also had a condition where his blood didn't clot very well.
Oh, tight. Good.
So we were concerned.
Good. Yeah.
Sure. So they looked at my buddy and I, and they said, "Go back, get the sat phone, and call for help,
Hmm.
like ASAP." So it's just like one of those moments where, someone's life could be on the line, not to be dramatic, but like, I'm 18 years old.
Hmm.
And so my buddy and I turn around and start running out of there as fast as we can. It's like a 5, 6, 7 mile hike, whatever it was. And we got back there, and we made the call. And he ended up being okay. He made it to the hospital like 5 o'clock the next morning. They had to go in there, cut down. It's funny because you go into those national parks and they're like, don't touch anything. The rescue guys go in there to like land their helicopter on the top of this like canyon. It's like a slot canyon where it's like just a wall, 500-foot wall down to where this dude was. And so they chop down all the trees. They drop someone in, they chop everything down, they land the helicopter, they drop the basket all the way down there to get him out and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Hey, all these trees, they all got to go. Like
Yeah.
how excited are you if you're the dude with the chainsaw? Like they put you in and they're just like, hey, make me a landing zone. You're like, got you.
Done, bro.
Got you, bro. This is it. The male urge to create an HLZ for your friends,
But just the understanding of like that's the step one of understanding what you can do if you absolutely have to.
Sure.
So that was one of those moments where I remember, trying to trick my mind into keep going, right? Like, I'm not tired. I can keep going one more step at a time. So like that was just one of those reach back moments I had where, when things got harder in the military, it's like, that got me over a few different obstacles in the beginning. And then you learn, you get more reach back moments. You just learn to keep going and going and going, and then it all works out.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you? What'd you have? Drowning in the pool over and over again?
Yeah, you know what? I was actually really I guess I was really fortunate too. I guess I didn't really understand it so much at the time, but I had a Force Recon Marine. He was in, did some training, pre-Gulf War stuff, and then he never got a chance to deploy, but just did one assignment and got out. So he was a really, really good swimmer and kind of like a hard-nosed dude, and was every bit a Marine. That was my swim coach, and then I ended up working for him. So we did a lot of wacky stuff. Like we did water confidence stuff as swim, played water polo and swam and all that other stuff. And he was very big on, preseason conditioning. He was very big on strength overall. And then, the specificity of swimming. He's like, he would tell us all the time, hey, you're going to get plenty of swimming at swimming practice. I can make you stronger, and that's going to make you a better swimmer. So we would have 5 a.m. lifting workouts in this dungeon gym in the Barberton High School. Shout out to the Barberton Magics. But it was the dungeon gym. It was the old gym used to be in the basement, like Hoosier style. Like they had seats up around the top, and they turned it into the practice gym, and they ended up building a new huge gym and complex and stuff and whatever later in life. But there was a little weight room, a little dungeon weight room that was attached to that gym, to that basement gym. And we would show up there 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 5 a.m. The swim team would be in there lifting before the football team started lifting at like 6 a.m. or something. So, I was lucky enough to kind of have those, especially repetition, like, hey, here's the schedule. We don't miss training. Like this is a training event. We're going to take it seriously. It's structured. We didn't just get in there and lift. Like, no kidding, ran us through, a regimen back in the day. And it worked. So I luckily had that stuff to look back and go, okay, this is hard, but this is a training event, and you show up with the stuff that you're supposed to have on time. Like if you didn't have gear with him, he would get pissed off. Or if you were just like sloughing off practice or screwing around, he did not tolerate it. He was about that life. Probably much too serious for a high school swim coach, to be honest with you. Like, take it easy, guy. Again, I wasn't.
Marines are known for their patience.
They really are. Yeah. But no, so I was lucky enough to have that to look back to. It wasn't a military sort of environment. I'm not saying that in any way, but there were some things that the culture that we developed on the team and his election of captains and his expectations. And he went about it in a way now that feels very familiar to me. I'm like, oh, of course, that's exactly how you would run a practice of any sort. Of course you would run it like that. I just didn't know it at the time. So that was pretty good. And I was lucky to have that.
One of the things you learn through sports, though, is the fitness. Like how many games did you win because you were more fit?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I remember like early season soccer practices, you don't see a ball, like you just run, and it's like what we're not going to be. We're not going to be tired at the end of the game.
Yeah, you get your conditioning in. That's the difference between American and Europeans, by the way. Europeans are like, we're going to do all skill and whatever. Americans are like, no, we're going to fitness it to death. We're going to beat you to death with cardio, and that's what we're going to do. But it's a true statement. Swimming obviously is, if you hold a higher pace faster than your opponent, you're going to win. Like that's how timing sports work. But, yeah, the stronger, fitter person is always going to win. There's something objectively beautiful in that, which is what sports teaches you. Sports teaches you that there's a hierarchy and there are winners and there are losers, and if you put the work in, you're much more likely to win.
Yeah. So I think that's why, when we talk about stuff we did right and being involved in sports and being involved in physical activities before we joined, it kind of just sets the mindset correct for, you know, what the community expectations are, what you're going to be doing. It's not, you don't show up on day one and it's like, here's your rifle and we're going to go do,
Right,
small unit tactics. It's like, no, no, no. I'm going
right.
to crush your soul for X amount of time. Make sure that you're fit enough and resilient enough to be part of this community or part of this team, just like sports. And then we can do the fun stuff and then we can work on our skill sets and all these other things. So it sets you up, it creates those connections in your brain that make it a whole lot easier.
I was thinking about some stuff that I really enjoyed in our culture, and I was thinking back to when you first showed up at a unit as a young pup. Better watch out, dude. You better watch out. Like if you think you're showing up and everybody's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. The new graduates are here, everyone. Come on in. Come on in, everyone. Welcome them." Bro,
Nope.
that is not what happened. I remember, oh man, JMac was notoriously hard on 3 levels coming to the unit. Like he would, and the first event, just like you just said, the first event that you would do was almost always a physical exercise. Like, yeah, it had some, hey, go pack a med ruck or, whatever. The one in Vegas at the 58th at the time, and this was way back in the old buildings, there was a mezzanine. And JMac would be like, hey, up there's your med ruck. You know how to pack a med ruck. So you're just going to get up there as fast as you can. You're going to pack that med ruck. You're going to get it ready to go. And when you're ready, you're going to come down here and you're going to put it out here for inspection. And then he'd be like, go. And you'd start to go and he'd be like, oh yeah, you can't use the stairs. So you'd have to find a way, like you're climbing up. And then anytime that he like would call you back.
There's like
down,
I-beams and stuff that you have to like monkey up.
Yeah, exactly. Or like you'd make a rope, so he'd be like, well, there's a rope over there. Let's try to figure it out. And then he would try to figure it out, but you would be getting smoked the entire time. He would just like send you out back and whatever. But that's indicative of our culture. Like it's a funny thing that, I think you seniors don't realize like how important physical fitness is, but it's part of our culture and everything we do. When we want to have an awesome family day, you know what we do? We work out really hard together as a big group. We have a big monster mash, and then everybody is sweaty and dirty and sometimes bloody. And you have a barbecue and you invite the family, and the kids swim in Zodiac boats that you fill up with water. But it all hinges on that fitness. It all starts at that workout, that first, it's the first thing that you do in your day every single morning. You don't see your friends in there. You're like, what's up, fatty? You weren't at the gym today. I'm like, I had an appointment. Like, doesn't matter. Go work out. It's woven into everything that we do. So getting more of those events, like I think we've talked about the Alpha Male Hell Weeks enough, but these events that they do, really hard physical, a Go Ruck or a SOCOM athlete or, one of these Hell Day sort of events where you go and you work out hard and it's done correctly and professionally, go for it. Go get that experience because you're going to make friends. You'll have like-minded individuals that are around you, but you'll give yourself one of those reach back moments. Or even better, get together with a group of your friends that are training to do the same thing and come up with your own and just go. It ain't hard to go find a park and go get it on Friday with 5 or 6 of your friends. I hope Pete just clips that. I'm going to mark that right there because I said get it on with 5 or 6 of your friends. I'm an idiot.
And the really fun stuff happens when you get out there. Say you like go out to the woods, and it really does turn into what feels like a life or death situation.
Yeah.
And then you find out what you're made of, and it's a good time.
Only takes a little bit of rain, a little bit of uncomfort to make you go, hold on, is this for real? I'm really cold. I really should find a way to build this fire. I might not make it out of here. Hilarious.
Wait a second. I could just die here. Am I just a bag full of blood and I'm super vulnerable
fragile.
to everything? What is going on? I thought I was something.
I'm not. You're telling me pretty much anything can just pierce my skin. It's not even really that tough. Like a stick just cut me open. What happened?
Yeah. Yep. It's a good time.
Just a bag of blood. What else were you bad at?
Oh, geez. Money, school, just seeing the world as it is, just generally being under 25,
Right.
just not understanding anything about anything.
Right.
But that was one of the good things that, like, because I did hit reality in life before I joined. And I came in a June class. So I came in with a bunch of kids that had just graduated high school, and I turned like 21 in basic, which isn't old. But in that
It's old
class,
comparatively. Yeah, I was 21 at basic as well. I turned 22 right after basic training in
yeah.
2002. Yeah.
And yeah, you see those folks that literally moved out of their parents' house for the first time in their lives, and they show up at BMT, and those are the ones that are like, "Oh my goodness, I can see McDonald's from the gate, and this is so terrible," and kind of adopt that like victimhood mentality right away. Like this is
Hmm.
something that's happening to me, and this isn't like a job and a contract I signed up for, and I'm not getting 3 solids a day and a place to sleep and uniforms,
Right.
and
Yeah, you
it's not
wanted
all
this. Yeah,
it's
you
not all
volunteered for
awesome.
this.
Yeah, you pay for it out of your paycheck, a lot of that stuff, but um, it's not bad.
Right.
Some dude screaming at me. I'm like, I've been screamed at before. It's
Yeah.
fine. But
That was a little bit different too. Yeah, I
yeah,
guess.
it's. I don't want to tell people to go burn their life down before they join the military. But I think a little bit of civilian experience. So, like, if you're still in high school and you want to join, go get a job and see what the real world is like. Like I had a paper route starting off when I was like 11 years old or something, and you learn a lot about like what it means to wake up at 3:30, 4:30 in the morning, and you get out there and you deliver the papers and you show up to school and people are complaining about waking up at like 7 o'clock to get to school on time, and you'll be like, bro, like what are you
I've
what are you
already been
complaining about?
awake. Yeah.
Yeah, but also you have that cash in your pocket that they don't have. And so like to me, like there were a lot of parallels between that and the special operations community.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Again, nothing is the same and exactly the same, but you can see similarities. Just like my high school swim coach, like again, that wasn't a military environment. Your paper route wasn't whatever, but it gave you those skills to when you actually got in the military, you weren't just completely a sort of babe in the woods. I remember I got to Andrews, so I got before it was Joint Base Andrews and all this other stuff was just Andrews Air Force Base. I got there and in the dorms there was an E5 security forces dude that could not drink because he was 20 years old. And I was like, you're a staff sergeant. Because I was 21. Like I'd been, I went to college for a year and a half before I stopped going and had crappy jobs and lived on my own. I was broke and, trying to make ends meet and failing and working at bars and doing stupid stuff. I look at this kid and I'm like, all right, so walk me through this. You came out of the middle of nowhere, Kansas. You lived on a farm. You graduated high school, got in the military at 17. You signed up for a contract long enough that you got out of tech school as an E3. You got below the zone E4, were immediately able to test. And by the time you're 20, so 3.5, 4 years later at that time,
Jeez.
you smoked. Like, granted, he got below the zone and he tested and made it first time. I got nothing to say except for the fact that he's 20 and he has no idea what life is outside of the most narrow scope. And now you're just like, oh, and he was a security forces dude. So he was eligible to volunteer for crazy programs at like the highest level, like go work on Air Force One or go work at the hangar where the president hangs out before he gets on Air Force One and stuff. Like they're very important jobs there. And this guy qualified for them. And it was the wackiest thing for me to just be like, hey man, on a life experience note, you have zero. How are you mentoring, guiding, and giving counsel to the people that you supervise that are most likely older than you? Imagine being a 23-year-old E3 with like 2 kids and this guy's your supervisor and you're like, what are you here to tell me? Can you even change a diaper?
Yeah, but I mean, there's two different types, right? So, like, I'm a suburbanite growing up. If this kid grew up on a farm, like legit,
Sure.
he's like, I've been waking up before the sun came up my entire life, and I gotta go milk Bessie, and I got all these things I gotta do.
Why'd you give him a Southern accent right away? Boy, cancel.
Oh yeah.
Wait, no, you're allowed to make fun of farmers. That's fine. You're allowed to make fun of.
Therefore, we can make fun.
Right, you're allowed to make fun of deplorables and flyover states. Don't get close to the coast. You're not allowed to make fun of anything from there, especially no blue-haired folks from Portland. Yes.
San Francisco. Things are going well. But I mean, like if he had that kind of responsibility and that type of life experience, like it's all kind of different, right? So like it's back to that question where people are like, hey, have you ever seen an 18-year-old join and make it? It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have made it at 18? Absolutely not. Nope. Like because I wasn't ready for it yet, and it's one of those things you got to be ready for, in my opinion. And you see like 26-year-olds that don't make it, and it's like, well, because they're not ready, and it's not physical. Sometimes it's just mentally or character wise or whatever. They just haven't learned the correct lessons and learned how to put all that stuff together in the way that we're looking for it. And it's not a good or a bad thing. It just is what it is. So this 20-year-old might have, more work life experience than, your master sergeant over there, who's done the military stuff but grew up and has been comfortable their whole life, never really took a risk, tested well enough to make it after 16 years, and it is what it is.
Yeah. Let's say we got a really smart dude out there. We'll make it a guy. We got a really smart dude out there. He's like, I'm not going to college. I'm going to enlist in the Air Force. I'm going to come in. I want to do one of these aspect work career field jobs, but I'm going to take myself a period of time where I'm going to go experience life, like what we're talking about right now. What do you think the right amount of time is? Like a year? Take like a Rumspringa where he's allowed to go off and just test out life and then come back? Or
Yeah, like, well, how much money do you have saved up?
oh, sure. Well, but I mean, I'm not saying like take a year to travel around Europe. I'm saying, man, go get a job, go experience life, move out on your own, have a relationship with, multiple people, or if that's what you want to do, or find somebody to share life with, whatever. And then from there, you can start making your decision to get in the Air Force. A year is about right to me.
Yeah, and if you do it just the right way, then you'll understand what it feels like to be hungry and all these other things, and how to work, how much, you start to see like your paycheck and how much it costs to live, and how difficult it is, and people above you that got to where they're at in a certain type of way, and you learn a ton of lessons when you're young. Like we talk about it all the time. Like I'm never jealous of somebody's youth. I'm jealous of the experience that they're about to have, like all these firsts that they go through over and over and over again, all these lessons that they're going to learn. Like it's not always the most comfortable time, but it's an awesome time.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And that's a great way to put it, is I'm not jealous of you in your time. I'm jealous of the experiences that you're going to have, because I wish I could go relive mine. That would be awesome. The first time that I remember the first, I don't know why this is such a fun thing to me, but when I think about my military experience, I remember the first time that ordnance went off like real close to me. And it wasn't even real close. We were on a training range. But it was, a AC-130 in the middle of the night, Cannon Air Force Base. I was out in the middle of absolute BFE nowhere in the middle of the MOA. And we're out there, or the training range that's out there. I think it's Melrose Training Range. And we're there. It's me, a controller, and one other PJ, Elliot. What's up? And we call, like, he calls it in. He walks us through calling it in. We got to like see and watch live 40 and 40 round or 40 millimeter and then 105 go off. And I was like, this is objectively the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Yep. I always tell people, I'm like, until that moment, I never really understood the allure of being a controller, like being a JTAC. And then the second that happened, I was like, I totally get it. I don't think I could make it, but I totally get it.
Yeah, you'd be fine. And like the first time you realize like how flexible the rules are downrange, like how you just get stuff done, like, and how it just changes like how you view everything. Like I remember the TACP on my first rotation taking me out, and an Apache came in as an escort to a 47. He's like, hey, I want to teach you how to call in this Apache and call in fire. And I'm like, what do you like? We just do this. He's like, yeah, come on, get on the roof of the building. I'll talk to him. Be like, hey, you got some like training rounds we can throw down?
It'll be great.
You want to shoot a little bit? I mean, then he walks me through it, and then I do it, and it's super weird, but it's just like, wait, we can just do whatever we want. Yeah. He's like, yeah. Why not?
Every once in a while, you get just every once in, and it's fun too, because everybody kind of realizes it at the same time. Like you kind of just like look around, and you're like, we can do whatever we want. We did that in a shoot house one time. Like we got in there and we were, shooting that video. It was great. And the guy's like, oh yeah, it's a 360-degree live fire shoot house. And we looked at each other like, all the way wherever. And he was like, yeah, you just can't shoot up. He was like, you can shoot everywhere and you're good. Everything's fine. The entire building is a huge bullet trap. And it was like movable walls and everything. We were like, oh, word. We just, dude, that was one of the most fun. I mean, we just shot ourselves out of ammo. We just ran the house over and over. And then we would just close it and be like, okay, now this door is off limits. And then now this is a wall. And now you have to shoot this specific square over here. Like, it was dope. It was one of the most fun times. But you all looked around, you're like, no, we're going to be safe. We're going to be professional, but we're going to train hard as crap. And there's nobody telling us no. We can't do anything. We're like, can we use flashbangs? The guy was like, yeah, I don't care.
He's like, do you have flashbangs? Then
yes. Yeah, how many flashbangs you got? Oh, okay.
He's like, if you give me one.
Which banger? Yes. How many 9-bangers you got? Because 9-bangers you can walk through. If you got a 1-banger in there, I'm going to need to know where the 1-bangers are, because those things are violent. If you have never eaten a one banger in your life, you are
No.
missing out. Like 6 bangers, 9 bangers, those aren't too bad. Oh man, the single like stun concussion grenades. I don't know what they're called, the military nomenclature, but oh my god, they're terrible, absolutely terrible.
I'm lucky that, I was warned about a few different things as I walked in the door. First day, hey, you do not go in there until it goes off. All right. And then
Just
maybe
yeah,
when you're new, hesitate half a second
Right.
before you rush in there after that.
Yeah.
Do you really know how many guys threw it in there? Because like 2 guys might think it was their turn, and a couple of them might have got in. So just wait a second.
I'll try to keep as many. I'll say it was in Iraq. We were working we had a security team that was not an Air Force security team. It was from the Army. So the Army security team was getting ready to rip out. We were going to get a new security team in, and it was tradition. It was tradition amongst that specific team to on the day that the old team is ripping out to go get their plane, is that they wake them up with a flashbang. And it's a gentleman's agreement. Like the guys leaving, like the guys that are there have no idea that it's going to happen, right? Like they do it in such a way that they, like when you get back, you have no idea. It's just a thing that and nobody, it's like a gentleman's agreement. Like nobody lets the game go when they go home. That they're not like, oh yeah, remember that time we got flashbang? They'll be like, hey, have you ever deployed this one location? Funny story. I happen to be awake because we're still working, so we're ripping out with a new team, and I see it developing. They lived in this one long hallway. There were like 3 rooms, and then the shower was closest to the door. I see the 2 new security dudes. They start just like laughing and snickering about something. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And I see him prepping the one banger, and I'm like, oh no, is it today? And they were like, oh yeah. I was like, I called it. I was working with another PJ and a controller. This guy, I was like, guys, come here. They go through the entire process. They stack on the door. They're being quiet. They call for the banger. The dude comes up, gets it ready. One guy pulls the door. The other guy lets it go. The spoon flies. The youngest security, this guy's like 19 years old on his first deployment to Iraq. He's in a towel going into the bathroom because it was closest to the door. He was like, I watched this thing. It goes ting. And he was like, it was a movie. Slow motion. It hit in front of my foot, bounced up like 12 inches and just he's like going down the hallway, and he's like, I knew I was just going to eat it. So he just turned at the guys at the door. He was like, oh, fuck you guys. And it's just, oh. He was, I guess like the guys at the door were just laughing because he just totally was like, bing. Oh, fuck you guys. Yep. Hilarious. Anyway, shenanigans. Don't do that. That was highly unsafe.
Yeah. And also don't tell people when your birthday is. Again. I don't know how many times we have to tell people this. Don't do it, especially if you're overseas. Yeah.
One of my best friend's birthdays is tomorrow. I can't wait to blow him up on the group chat. I'm doing it. I might do it tonight. I might be like, oh, I'm starting your birthday early. So everybody has a whole day to plan.
Dang. Speaking of planning.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I like to bring with me when I go to the gym to maintain my hydration? Hoist.
What? Hoist. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it. I love me some Hoist.
There's a lot of other things that I enjoy drinking. But like as I'm working out, Hoist is one of the few things that I can drink while I'm working out, and it's not going to jack me up. And it seems to be working really, really well. So like right before my workout or during my workout, there's only so many things I can drink. I don't like to drink cold water. I don't like to do any of these things, but like a nice, chilled or room temperature Hoist, it does the trick for me, and it seems to make a big difference in my workouts and how long I can go.
I've said it from the very beginning. Hoist is one of the only drinks that I can drink intra workout, like during a workout. You are dead on with like the cold water thing. Like I actually love cold water all day long, except when I'm working out, because I want to be able to slug some of it. And usually I'm thirsty and whatever else. But Hoist intra workout for me is great. It's IV level hydration. So it's one of only 3 that are actually approved for military and the DoD. Fun story, Trent. This is a military appreciation month, right? So Hoist is doing their military appreciation month. And some of the questions that we, get asked all the time is like, why do you think that Hoist is great, in the military environment? Like from a utilitarian sort of reason, there's a million reasons why. They have the packets, those pouches that you can just crush up, like the little flex pouches, I think they're called.
Oh, those are great.
Dude, just you bring those out with you and then they collapse down into the smallest possible thing. Or you just bring out the powder packets. You can get, I have those in every single bag. Like it's funny. I just open bags up and I'll just find like fruit punch Hoist packets that are just sitting there. But they're great. inside of there. And that is completely aside from like they're really easy to use, whatever else. But that's completely aside from they actually just hydrate you really, really well. Like you're able to work in hot, like I moved to Vegas. It's hot in Vegas. There's no way when I worked here before, there's no way that you could be dehydrated and work in this stuff at like in any sort of at any sort of level. So
yeah, you can tell a lot of thought was put into the product. It tastes good, it works well, and then the myriad of ways that you can do it with the powders and the little crush up things and the bottles. So and they're good people. We've been talking with Hoist since they were fairly new.
Yeah.
And now you can buy it anywhere. So you can use our code, or if you buy it on base or do anything else, how about you just shoot a little message over to them? Be like, hey, do me a favor, and be like, One's Ready talks about you guys all the time. I didn't order online, but this is where I
did want to
heard
say at least what's up, because I mean their support to the military is ridiculous. Like I do want to give that whole team a shout out. It's really the real reason. Like you can get hydration stuff anywhere. I'm going to be dead honest with you, right? But you can't find a team like Hoist that supports the military the way that they do. Everything that they do, from really trying to give back as much as they possibly can to, we've been with them forever. And this is the reason why we ended up linking up with them. We're like, you guys really support the military really well. That's something near and dear to our heart. We'd love to at least have a relationship with you. And they've been super successful since. And man, you'd love to see it. But thanks to Hoist for all the support to the military. Thanks for making a great product. We love it. We use it all the time. You can get a sweet discount on it. So use that code One's Ready over at drinkhoist.com. There you go.
Boom.
In your face.
Yeah. Despite how I feel about Military Appreciation Month or any type of month that's named for anything.
It's so bad. There's too many at this point. Like everything is a day, like every single day. You know what? Hold on, young Jamie. Let me Google this. What national day is it today? I'll Google it.
That's so stupid.
Talk amongst yourself.
I don't like it at all. Like on a tangent, and this is probably for another episode, is I think one of the worst things we ever did was give military folks too much credit for simply being in the military.
Amen.
I think it ruined a lot of things, and it
I agree.
led to a lot of bad things. But that's a different podcast that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
And we're going to tie it into stolen valor, and we're also going to tie it into gatekeeping. So we're going to say, like, hey, I think we probably just assumed that everybody that ever went into the military was the best person ever, and we lionize it and all that other stuff, and then we'll talk about it. So today, April 19th, 2024, it's National Amaretto Day. This is by one source, nationalday.com. I could look at this day in history, but from nationalday.com, that's the source there. It's National Amaretto Day.
Anyway, so if I'm a senior in high school and I have options, what are the reasons why I would consider the military, really? I mean, because I don't think it's ever been more complicated. Just, there's a lot of information floating around out there, positive, negative, all those other things, and we're not immune to the negatives. We try to lean towards the positive. But if I'm going to consider it, why would it, filter into my list of things that I'd want to do?
So I'm going to try to build this up, right? I'm going to start with the baseline would be service. You want to serve your country, and you think that the military is the correct way for you to serve. There's a million ways to serve, right? But we're talking about hypotheticals of why would you include the military in your rubric or in your plan here? If you have a desire to serve, support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, bear true faith and allegiance to the same, yada, yada, yada. If you wish to do that stuff, the military is the place where you can have the most effect, probably the most quickly, right? Like a lot of other places, being a first responder, you go through your schooling and you get out there and you start making a difference. Hey, that's a great way to serve too. Or, you decide to be a teacher, you go through your schooling, then you start teaching and you start impacting the youth, hopefully in positive ways. Great, cool. But the military, you can get in and usually in very short timelines. Like pipelines are usually weeks and months long, not years long. In AFSPEC war, that's a little bit different. But if you wanted to, at the height of GWAT, if you really felt a need to get in and literally fight in combat for your country, man, you could get in with that 11 Bravo contract. You could get through your initial training, and 8 months later, you could be slinging, you could be knocking on doors into crit if you wanted to back in the dizzy of GWAT.
Join the Marines, you're like, I'm in Fallujah. You don't even know how to pronounce the names
yet.
It's
really weird. I got two sets of orders. One was to Paris Island, and the other one was to Fallujah or something. I guess that's like where we're training after basic training.
Something's happening.
But if you want to serve and you feel a need or a desire to do that, like I think that would probably be reason number one to include it. You feel a calling to something, you're not sure what it is, and you want to go affect something right away. You want to make an impact quickly.
Yeah, I would say that's true, and I think one of the things is culturally, and I've talked about this. You might hear people say that you shouldn't be selfish, right? But when you are young, you need to be a little bit selfish about doing what you want to do. Don't listen to people if they're just because, especially if they haven't done it. People are going to say all kinds of stupid stuff to you, but it's like, oh, I don't think you should do that. Whatever it is, because it's dangerous or it's dumb or like blah blah blah. If you want to do it, go do it.
Yeah.
Like, don't let anybody stand in your way. And it's one of the few times in your life, or not really, if you're like me and you still just do whatever you want. But like, you have that opportunity, and especially before you turn 25, there's like this sweet spot where you're capable, you're an adult, and you don't think about the consequences as much.
Well, and people, like we've said it a million times, but people also give you a pass during that time. You're like, oh, you were 22 and you made that decision. All right,
Yeah.
probably not a bad decision, but that's probably not who you are. You do a lot of growing up from 18 to 25. That's a big range of growth.
I mean, I'm still growing up, but yeah. But it's a good time to find your limits. Like if you want to find out what you're capable of, like the old, Socrates and all those other folks, like figure out what your body is actually capable of. Like, that's a good time to do it. It's never easier to figure that out later on in life.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Don't watch my 18 Alpha videos where Kevin stretches me out.
Like you were about. I was like, oh man, Trent looks how I feel after a hard week of jiu-jitsu. I'm about to go and there's an awesome class. Shout out Odin's Halls, BJJ. It's my new gym. It's freaking awesome. It's really, really good. Great class schedules, great instructions. Steve does a great job. Anyway, what's up? Shout out. We're not partners yet, but we going to be, baby. Anyway, it was a nice thing to show up to the 11 o'clock class and see a whole bunch of like-minded individuals in there. So I am excited. What I'm not excited about is how I feel after 4 or 5 of those days. So seeing you try to stretch through and like catch that cramp and whatever, I was like, oh yeah, man, I guess we all have those things.
Yeah. Beware of adult language. So
yeah. Another reason that I would include it, if you're thinking about what it is that you're going to do and you're making your plan, why should you include it in the military? Listen, if you're about education, the education benefits, especially speaking specifically about the Air Force, because the Air Force is one of the last holdouts. They've got the best educational policy of the services. It's great, right? So GI Bill, tuition assistance, all that stuff is still going really well. It's an easy way to get not just credentialing, like, a 4-year degree, master's, MBA, guys have done crazy, PA all the way through getting their doctorate, right? The Air Force is going to set you up and provide you those opportunities better than pretty much everybody else. If that is something that's important to you, like, okay, I want to serve, awesome. You should have some level of, I want to serve the country. Also, this benefit of education is another reason that I want to take this on, because I don't want the debt of student loans. We don't know if the president is going to continue to wield his power unconstitutionally and just cancel student debt, right? So you don't know if that debt is going to be paid or unpaid in the future. I can tell you for sure, though, if you use tuition assistance, Bob's your uncle. It's figured out. You don't have a whole lot of debt that comes along with those certifications, those qualifications, and those degrees.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I joined, right? Like, I found out along the way, because like I was lying to myself. I at least wanted the option.
Right.
It's like, oh, I should go to college, because I don't know.
Right.
Like, I tried to go to college and I sucked at it, but it's
but
like,
but where else are you even going to have that option? That's the thing, is like we're talking about this thing that is just, it's a well-known fact. Like, you're going to get school paid for, and like it doesn't exist anywhere else.
It's like, at least I had the option to go or to not go for no money. And it's not like I haven't taken any classes while I was in the military and all this other stuff. But yeah, it's something I just didn't value that much, and I still don't for myself. But it's nice to have options. It's nice to be driving towards something or have something that you could do and have all these things. So it's pretty good.
Right.
But I'd also say, if you're looking at your options, in the vein of not listening to people, don't let anybody sell you a bill of goods thinking that anything is going to be like sunshine and rainbows. Like, everything is going to have its own version of suck. The military has its version of suck, and it's out in the open. Basically what it's going to be. College is going to have its version of suck, and then after college, after you get your liberal arts degree, and you think that
Underwater
you're going to get a
basket weaving.
job, yeah, in that thing, and
Yeah.
with no experience. How come they're not paying me $120,000 a year to do what I've never done before?
I can't believe it. I have an art degree.
Yeah,
Are you gonna go work for the big art company downtown? What do you,
dude, big art, keeping the man down.
nerds?
But I mean, just living in this society, like where capitalism sucks, to get through it, right? And it's not a negative thing. It's just, don't let anybody tell you like the military sucks in a way that is different or
Or
worse than
special,
the
right?
suck of regular life. Like,
Right.
coming from
Yeah.
two guys that sucked up
Newsflash.
regular life real hard before we joined.
Newsflash, it all sucks, everybody. I don't know how many times we've said the word suck, but it's going to be great. There should be a little suck counter and then go ding, ding,
Right.
ding.
I'm trying to. This isn't a members only episode as far as I can tell, because I haven't cussed enough.
No.
So I'm trying to be good about it.
Right. Not cuss enough to put it behind the paywall. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Like the old axiom is true. Like, choose your hard. Like, do you want to, work 80 hours a week at a job where you're really not progressing just to exist and be okay? Or do you want to work? I mean, you're going to still work 80 hours a week sometimes. You're still going to feel like you're just treading water. And like, some days you're going to feel like you're punching a clock. You're like, what are we doing here? Can we just go home? I'm not doing anything. Like, stuff like that happens. And it does suck.
Senior Airman Love, shut up.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I had such a good team sergeant. He had this whole list that he would print out. I think I've told this story before, but he had this whole list. And it was everything from like, are you current on flying? Are you current on medicine? When was the last time you shot? Blah, blah, blah. And it was just this entire list. And it ended with, is your cage clean? And the intent of that was when you would go in, because there would be some days it'd be like, he was notorious for walking into the team room at like 4 o'clock and giving us tasks. Like, he would come in at like 4 o'clock. He'd be like, hey, you guys got to go pack 2 Rams. And we'd be like, CA, it's 4. Like, can we do this tomorrow? Like, we'll build it into, we'll PT, then we'll build the boats. It'll be great. He's like, oh, that's tight. I don't really remember asking you.
Did I ask you to do it tomorrow?
Yeah.
Or did I ask for your opinion or feedback? I didn't.
If I wanted it done tomorrow, I would have done it, because I was really clear when I told you to get the fuck out of this team room and go pack the boats. And we'd be like, all right. You would just bounce. Well, anyway, but it was that list, that was there, but it was a good indication. He was like, listen, you cannot possibly be this squared away. If this whole list is done, yeah, you can go home early, but we have work to do. So all that to say, you're going to work 80 hours a week. Sometimes you're not going to have your own life. You're going to give your life 49%, and the military is going to take 51% at a minimum. I've said that a bunch of times, and it's going to be like that for a long time. But at the same time, you're earning those educational credits. You get paid to go on different work trips, other places pretty frequently. You get the opportunity to do a lot of things that you wouldn't be able to do at that other job. So when you weigh those two things, and again, the military is not specifically sucky in any real or distinct way. It's different, sure, but it's not like on its own, like this special brand of suck. Unless you start talking about going into combat, then it is its own brand of suck. But for these purposes, that's what we're talking about.
Being the thing that everybody's working so hard to get themselves into,
dying so hard to get into, quite literally. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Well, and I think one of the big benefits too is like we said, like it's known that the military is difficult up front, right?
Sure. Yep.
And especially in our community. And I think one of the reasons we see a lot of our folks be successful on the outside is at a fairly young age, they found out what they're truly capable of. Like the saying, like, do a hard workout in the morning, the rest of your day, like at least nothing's going to suck as bad as, 10-mile run, or be as bad. I'm going to stop saying suck someday.
Now you just hear it every time.
I can't do it.
Perfect. Good. I've ruined your mind. So you hear it every time you say it. Oh man.
But like if you hit that peak early on in your life, like the rest of your life, everything else is like, oh, that might be a possibility. Like I can do that. Like, oh, you're gonna have to put in 80 hours a week to like make this company successful. Yeah, cool.
Got it.
Yeah. But like I figured out that if I actually care about something and I have like a desire to do something, there's very few things that can get in my way and stop me. And that's one of those things that really creates, successful veterans. Yeah.
Some other things to consider, right? If you're looking at weighing careers and you're thinking about the military, we've already talked about service to the country or service to, our overall cultures and values. We've talked about the educational benefits and some of the other stuff. So I'm just going to level with you here, because that's what we do here. The pay is not great, right? Like if you just look at how much you get paid for being an E3, you can just Google it I know, gasp. You can look at it, go Google pay scales, and you can have a great idea of exactly what you're going to make, right? We're not talking about special pays here. We're just talking about baseline pays. I get it. They're way too low. I hate the fact that they're too low. I lived my life 22 years of getting paid not enough money for base pay, especially when you compare it to that of an officer. The officers get away a little bit better, but they have different skills that they're being compensated for. So what I will say, the stuff like shopping at the commissary is almost 25% cheaper than shopping on market. Like, I will tell you, if you shop at the commissary, you will save money. I don't do it because I am a bougie asshole. So I'm more of a Sprouts guy, but Sprouts is Smith's Marketplace. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think I've ever been to Sprouts. I just want to be judgy.
Well, you got HEB. That's different. HEB is the truth.
That's right.
HEB is hot. Anyway, you got me thinking about HEB and
the commissary
Sprouts.
BX.
Oh yeah, no. So the commissary, the BX, these things you're going to buy stuff for tax-free on base. You're going to get a stipend for food called basic allowance for sustenance. You're going to get housing, whether it's on base housing or if they're going to pay you in order to offset housing costs off market, right? Or off base. And I get it. That probably hasn't gone up enough with inflation and cost of living too. And they're trying to fix it. But all of these other, and that's not to mention medical care, health, basically anything you want. You can just schedule an appointment with your doc and be like, hey, run some blood work. I want to look at my vitamin D level. And you can do that every month if you wanted. And you can't really do that anywhere else. So when you roll all of these other things in, then you get a pretty good compensation package.
Yeah. I remember guys complaining in the team room, like, I don't get paid enough for what I do. I'm like, like to join the military though, as a high school graduate with no experience in anything, like, you're getting paid pretty okay.
You're getting paid pretty good, yeah.
And you're getting taken care of. Nothing's expected of you in the beginning except for ingest this training and do what we tell you to do, which nobody appreciates as much as we should in the moment. How easy it is.
The expectations are so low. The bar is so low. It's show up wearing the right outfit, the right way, with the right things to train. That's it. That's all I ever expected, especially like a brand new E3, E4. Dude, just show up on time with the right gear for this training thing. That's enough. If anything outside of that is just gravy, you're like, holy crap, you're here on time with the correct gear, wearing the correct uniform, ready to go. Let's go. Yeah. Time to train.
And in the Air Force, your dorm room is probably okay. Go over to Terminal CWO to see how the other services live.
Yikes.
But it's not all terrible. It's some of it's good. But look, I just, leveling with y'all. It's not always gonna be awesome.
You ain't gonna make generational wealth doing it. I'll tell you what, I think I was getting paid. Oh man, I want to say my paycheck when I was in E3. I guess I was in E4 at the time. E4 in 2003, I was getting like $700 a week. I think it was $1,400 every 2 weeks or something. I'd have to look and see what it was back then. You know what, young Jamie, I'll look that one up too. Let's see how much I was actually making.
But also, what choices are you making? When I joined, I got rid of the 3 possessions that I actually owned. You know what I mean? And so my first duty station, I still didn't have a car. In tech school, I didn't have a car. And is it not cool? Is it cool to not have a car? No. Because you can't just go wherever you want to go. You have to have people give you rides and all this other stuff. But I remember I still had a fair bit of money in my pocket. It's about choices. I didn't go off base and buy a Camaro with a 43% interest rate. So there's not making enough money and not making enough money to live the way that you think you deserve to live. And those are 2 very different things. And that's not just the military. That's a whole bunch of people in general. I don't have a living wage. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure you don't.
You shouted about from your iPhone that you don't need. So fun fact, in 2003, as an E4 at Andrews Air Force Base, less than 2 years time in service, which is what I had, I was making $1,502 a month. I was getting $750 every 2 weeks. And I lived in the dorms and I ate at the chow hall and I worked out at the gym on base and I didn't have a car. And that was tight. The freedom in that, I'll tell you what, and put yourself, I told the story of the 17-year-old from before, but that guy was living essentially the same life as me. Imagine being a 19-year-old getting, you don't pay for food. You're not paying for your gym membership. You're working too much to really go out and do stuff anyway. Beer was cheap back then. So there's, a couple bucks here and there, 30 rack of Coors wasn't that expensive, $15 or something. Man, that's a pretty good life. And to be out on your own and be given a level of responsibility that you're not going to be given anywhere. What job in the world is going to let you shoot a machine gun and a rocket launcher, and then in the afternoon go clean a vehicle and go home. That's, you know, at 18 years old, there ain't a whole lot.
Not very many legal ones. You know, you can go south of the border.
Touche. Did you just advertise for the cartels? All right, I guess feel like I
hear
gotta,
they're hiring. I don't know.
I gotta step in. We do not endorse. We do not endorse you going to work for a Mexican cartel. I feel, you know, I'm going to mark that one.
Easy. They're not just Mexican. There's cartels. You know.
With as much heat as we've been getting lately, I feel like this is a hot take that I'm going to get away with. One's Ready does not endorse the Mexican cartels.
I wasn't endorsing them. I was simply saying that this is a legal way to do the things that you want to do.
This podcast has gone off the rails. Peaches should not let us record. He should actually have to like monitor everything and then just give us a text like, wrap it up, B. Listen, I'm listening to what you guys are
going
saying.
into the skiff. I'm going to be out for like 2 hours. We're like, we got to go record right now.
We got to record right now. We got to record before Peaches gets out of his meeting.
He can't do anything about it.
Oh my God, he totally can. He can. He's got no power here. All right. Oh man. Any other reasons why? What else would you put in there?
Good reason. I mean, you know, like it's difficult to be objective about it, obviously, after 20 years and then creating some space. You know, the last few years, I didn't say a lot of good things about my particular job, but the career field in general. You know, the people, the experiences, you know, maybe not the money, but like, you know, you retire after 20 years, I still get paid for breathing. You know, so it's not that bad. You know, I signed the contract and, you know, nothing was free. The education isn't free and it's all included in that contract. It is what it is. And, you know more about yourself than most people your own age. You know, like I've trained folks, I've written curriculum, I've done all these things. It's not just like, hey, like, did you go look at people or did you just forecast weather and shoot your weapon? It's like, no. Like I trained folks. I wrote stuff. I was involved.
I learned how to be an instructor. I learned how to manage programs. I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to communicate with people. I learned all of these things that have nothing to do with the tactical expression of what we did or the benefits. And it's hard to explain that to somebody.
Like how many times have you been in like a public speaking situation outside of the military and people are like, why are you so good at this? And you're just like, this is just what we do. It's not a big deal to stand up in front of a few hundred people and be like, hey, this is what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah. And that is a crazy thing. You like, I've had to brief like 2-star generals my plan, like as an E6, E7, like they looked at me and they want the answers and they're very, you know, very pointedly asking me questions. You're just asking me to stand up to give a toast for this guy. Oh yeah, I got it. No, it's pretty simple. Like I got that. You want me to talk for 5 minutes on something? Yeah, I got you. No, just tell me when to stand up. I'll just wing it.
I'm not going to break a sweat. And we talk about having those reach back moments, and now you have a lifetime worth of reach back moments that you can reach back into, and so that anything is possible moving forward. Even starting a podcast that 6 people listen to, even that's possible.
Hey, shout out to you members. There's more than 6 of you. There are tens of you now. We almost have enough to have a basketball game amongst the subscribers. I'm kidding. Shout out to y'all. We appreciate you. Thanks. And we're going to be doing more lives. So keep your eyes out.
You got any more big pros?
I think that's it. And like you said, it's so hard to be objective and just give people, I can't put my feelings into your head. I can't show you the good that I've seen from it or the ways that it's changed me into your calculus to decide on this stuff. It's really hard to explain what I think all of the benefits are. I think that it's a really good, you know, as long as you're going in eyes wide open, and there, maybe we'll do another episode on like, hey, these are a lot of the problems with what we just talked about, because you know, I can talk for hours on what I don't like about it. So don't think that I am just some, you know, paid shill for the recruiting service trying to get you to go in. Like,
at least not paid.
I know, right? I'm definitely not that. I definitely will give you my honest opinion about it when that's warranted, or I guess when it's wanted. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but I still feel that it's valuable. I'm still here saying, you know, I love it. And I think the things that you can get from it really will set you up just to have a better life. You know, it'll make you a better person. It'll give you experiences that you couldn't possibly get anywhere else. And it'll teach you lessons you didn't even know that you needed to learn. But that's hard to put on a recruiting poster. It's hard to put that in a reel and I have somebody be like, oh yeah, that's it. I get it. So it's just tough.
Yeah. And I'll just say, like, if you're joining, nothing changes. Like the people that you associate with are going to be a huge part of the experience, you know? So as long as you maintain that positive mental attitude, like Jared likes to talk about, and do what you're doing, and don't get caught up in the drama, because there's always going to be drama. There's always going to be people that adopt the victim mentality. There's always going to be that. Just don't get sucked into that nonsense.
There's going to be a boss that sucks.
Yeah.
Corporate's going to tell you that you got to change your TPS reports. Got it. You're going to do that everywhere. Like, do you want to be able to shoot machine guns and jump out of planes or not?
Yeah.
Sorry.
And
That was
sometimes
me
you just
being-
gotta laugh in your boss's face when he comes at you crazy, and it's a good time. But it's just like in the real world.
Just like in the real, yeah, exactly. Why are you so worked up? Jeez.
Yeah, except I'm
Fucking
harder to fire,
clowns.
or I was harder to fire.
I'm
So
nearly
there's some
impossible to fire
advantages.
now. Oh man, get out of here. All right, well, that
Yeah.
feels like a good place to end it. I'm gonna go create a little reach back moment for myself by sucking at jujitsu and then remembering it during.
Yeah, I'm gonna review the 18 Alpha videos and work on my mobility for a little bit, so that next time I go see Kevin, he's not like, "Did you do anything at all?" I'll be like, "A little bit. Sorry, you
just
can't
imagine-
overcome 40 years in 1 week, bud."
And when I just imagine you stretching and it sounds like a rubber band that's getting like the cartoon sound effect of a rubber band, like, like
When I'm trying to do this thing where I'm like, like if I can do it, anybody can do it. And some people say that, and that's utter nonsense, because
right.
they're those people that I am that person that if I can actually become flexible, then anybody can do it. And I'm letting my inner monologue become my outer monologue, so you guys can understand that I'm actually not enjoying any of this. So hopefully somebody connects to that.
The worst. This is actually the
I'm
worst.
just letting it all out. It's awful.
Oh, I love it. All right, y'all. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure your notifications are on. Don't miss any of this stuff. You're going to see a lot more content from us because, like I said, we just hop on when we feel the need. So we'll be out there. Hey, consider joining the team over at the tiers. So we have subscription tiers where you'll have access to all types of content that other people aren't going to have access to, like early looks at podcasts. You're going to be able to ask us directly, hey, can you do a podcast on this? And we'd be more than happy to. We have way more open and honest communication with you guys because we're able to put it behind a little bit of a wall. There is a little price if you'd like to support the podcast and keep us going, man, that'd be cool. And we'd love to hear you there. And we hope we provide value. So tell your friends.
The Duck Sized Bear podcast is going to be awesome, because I'm assuming that's going to come through as a question.
It has to be. Would you rather fight? Here's a question for what? Hey, for the members, hit the members only chat. Hit the members only tab over in the community on the YouTube. How many 10-year-olds do you think you could beat up before you were physically exhausted? Like what group of 10-year-olds now they can communicate and they're motivated? It's not like some of them are scared and like half of them don't want to do it. This is game opponent 10-year-olds. How many do you think of average size? Okay, they're not huge. How many do you think that you could beat up?
Like in an auditorium, or like in an
now,
octagon?
here's the
like
thing. How
much space do I have to move around? Like there's a lot of things. These are team room discussions that get ready for. And
I'm going to tell you, you know what? I'll make my own video and I'll put it back on the members only. And I'll make sure. But so check out the members only. I'm going to put this out there. I will tell you why I can fight an infinite number of 10-year-olds in a bathroom urinal. I will tell you why. Okay, bathroom stall. Me, infinite number of 10-year-olds. I've thought about this a lot. Okay, I'll make my own video.
One of the things we didn't talk about is how bored you get sometimes, and so now you know.
Listen, man,
it can be real boring.
Listen, man, my new board son gets up at like 5 a.m. and we just kick it, and I just don't think about stuff. Be honest with you, it's like, how many 10-year-olds could I beat up? What would happen if Jelly Roll and Post Malone got in a rap battle, but it had to be country music? What would that sound like? Just stuff.
You're in the porta john, like sweating like crazy, and it's 180 degrees. You're like, how many 10-year-olds?
10-year-olds. Porta potty is a good one, but it doesn't have enough room. Handicap bathroom stall.
Jared's just going to cut the end of this off. He's going to be like, after you guys talk about this other thing, that's the end of the podcast. I'm not going to keep going.
Like, Jared, the editing got real messed up. Did we lose the last 8 minutes? No, we didn't, Aaron. We didn't lose the last 8 minutes. What do you mean? It's all gone. Yeah, I deleted it, you fucking idiot, because it was pointless. Because you idiot. What were you freaking idiots?
I'm going to mark this as a clip, so he has to look at it. There you go.
We're forcing you to look at this content that we made that we know you're going to find repugnant. We know the type of content that Jared just absolutely hates, and we insist on making it.
Yeah. So head over to onesready.com. Get Ones Ready merch, 18 Alpha merch, and
Yeah,
Attack
check
Jet
'em out.
stuff. It's all there in one place. Get everything you need there. So now you have to listen to all that to get to the ad at the end, Jared, so you can't delete it. So
Yeah,
you're
take
welcome.
that. All
Hope
right.
y'all have a good day. Train hard. We'll catch y'all next time.
Later.